In this podcast episode, Dr. Andy Galpin, a renowned expert in human bioenergetics and performance coaching, dives into an extensive discussion on sleep, energy management, fat loss, exercise, and health optimization. Drawing on over 2 decades of experience working with elite athletes, entrepreneurs, and clients with a range of health goals and conditions, Galpin shares science-backed insights on improving sleep quality, diagnosing sleep disorders, managing energy effectively, and approaching fat loss realistically. He also explores the psychological and biological factors behind behavior change and offers practical advice on creating sustainable lifestyle habits. Sleep is emphasized as one of the most critical yet often overlooked aspects of health and performance. Galpin highlights how many people, including athletes, suffer from undiagnosed clinical sleep disorders like sleep apnea, a condition where breathing repeatedly stops during sleep. Sleep apnea affects an estimated 70 to 80% of sufferers who go undiagnosed and is particularly underrecognized in women due to differing symptoms and societal misconceptions. The consequences of untreated sleep apnea extend beyond poor sleep, impacting cognitive function, mood regulation, metabolic health, and ultimately increasing the risk for serious long-term diseases and mortality. The conversation stresses the importance of assessing sleep not only by duration, but also by quality and underlying physiological factors. While consumer sleep wearables are helpful tools for monitoring general patterns like total sleep time, they often fall short in accurately measuring crucial components like deep or REM sleep. Galpin advocates for understanding individual sleep issues through validated questionnaires and, where appropriate, clinical sleep studies or home-based monitoring technologies. The modern environment has dramatically changed the context of sleep. Increasing urbanization has led to higher levels of nighttime light and noise pollution, factors shown to disrupt sleep cycles. Satellite data reveal that global brightness at night has increased, and phenomena like sky glow amplify ambient urban light, challenging natural circadian rhythms. Alongside light, inconsistent noise disturbances profoundly affect sleep quality. White noise machines can mask unpredictable sounds, but their volume and placement need attention to be effective without causing further disturbance. Screen usage before bed has traditionally been blamed for poor sleep due to blue light exposure. However, Galpin points out that the greater issue is the cognitive arousal caused by engagement with stimulating content such as social media, podcasts, or TV shows. This engagement activates the brain's novelty-seeking circuits, making it harder to wind down and fall asleep. The conversation acknowledges the addictive design of social media platforms, increasingly driven by AI to capture attention and retain users for longer periods, underscoring the difficulty many face in disconnecting at night. Practical strategies for improving sleep extend beyond controlling light and noise. Factors like sleeping arrangements, including the concept of sleep divorce, where partners sleep separately due to disruptive movements or snoring, can significantly impact rest quality. Temperature regulation is also critical. A cool bedroom, typically 64 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, supports better sleep, but abrupt temperature changes or noisy air conditioning fans can cause awakenings. Olfactory cues like lavender have modest evidence supporting their use in aiding sleep onset. Nutrition and supplements form another pillar of sleep hygiene. While many supplements are associated with potential benefits, such as tart cherry juice, chamomile, magnesium bisglycinate, omega-3 fatty acids, kiwis, and melatonin, Galpin advises nuanced use. Melatonin, by far the most researched sleep aid, primarily functions as a circadian rhythm regulator rather than a sedative, making timing and dosage crucial. High doses or indiscriminate usage can cause next-day grogginess, known as sleep inertia, and should be reserved for circadian phase delays, such as jet lag. Lower doses, 0.3 to 0.5 milligrams, are often more effective and carry fewer side effects than conventional higher-dose supplements. The episode advocates a philosophy of resilience over rigid optimization, encouraging listeners not to obsess over perfect sleep routines, but to understand their bodies, collect meaningful data, and run self-experiments one change at a time to uncover individual sleep disruptors. Transitioning from sleep to energy, Galpin places energy management at the heart of high performance across all life domains: physical, cognitive, emotional, and social. Elite performers distinguish themselves not by working harder, but by managing their energy more effectively, optimizing how and where they allocate their limited reserves. This includes tuning their relationships and daily activities to support replenishment rather than depletion. Energy limitations often stem from visible stressors, such as insufficient physical activity, poor nutrition, and inadequate sleep, but also from hidden stressors like chronic inflammation, environmental toxins, e.g., mold exposure, or undiagnosed medical conditions. The science of mitochondrial function is spotlighted because mitochondria produce cellular energy and respond adaptively to exercise stimuli. Engaging in regular physical activity, including cardiovascular conditioning and resistance training, expands mitochondrial capacity and blood volume, improving oxygen delivery and overall energy production. Galpin encourages listeners to identify their primary energy constraints, whether physiological, lifestyle-related, or behavioral, and focus on targeted, manageable interventions rather than adding multiple changes simultaneously. Movement in any form counts as beneficial exercise, from formal gym sessions to occupational activity and play. When reviewing the host's blood test results, Galpin points out elevated cholesterol as a pressing concern, especially with a familial history of heart disease. He explains that cholesterol is an indirect marker of cardiovascular risk and that elevated levels can arise from genetic factors, dietary patterns, such as a ketogenic diet high in saturated fats, and systemic inflammation. Lifestyle modifications, including increasing dietary fiber and stress reduction, can help improve cholesterol profiles before considering medical interventions like statins. Vitamin D and omega-3 fatty acid levels were borderline or deficient despite lifestyle perceptions, illustrating that common assumptions about health may not reflect actual biometrics. Supplementation and dietary sources should be high quality and personalized based on testing to avoid counterproductive outcomes such as mercury exposure from low-quality fish oil supplements. Emphasizing the value of sophisticated data and clinical imaging, like heart scans, Galpin advocates combining lifestyle changes with medical guidance where appropriate to optimize health outcomes. Muscle strength, power, and physical fitness are discussed not just as performance goals, but as predictors of health and longevity. Grip strength, often cited as a mortality marker, reflects both muscular and neural health, but should be interpreted with nuance. Asymmetry in grip strength can provide insights into neurological conditions and muscle imbalances, but should not be the sole focus of training. Muscle power, defined as the product of force and velocity, becomes increasingly important with age. Loss of power, powerpenia, can lead to falls and injuries, detrimentally affecting quality of life. Training approaches that emphasize both strength and velocity, rather than slow, heavy lifting alone, help preserve functional capacity. On training frequency and volume for gains in strength or muscle, Galpin clarifies that total training volume is more important than how many days per week one trains. Rest intervals matter to the extent they allow sufficient recovery for quality effort in subsequent sets. Pursuing training quality, proper technique, and mind-muscle connection generally trump higher training frequency or shorter rest periods. Creatine is commonly used among athletes and clients as a proven performance-enhancing supplement. Galpin's personal use and those of his clients focus on correct physiological supplementation, addressing deficiencies like vitamin D or fiber intake separately from ergogenic aids such as creatine, beta-alanine, and sodium bicarbonate. He does not rely on routine supplementation when diet and environment suffice, advocating evidence-based, individualized approaches. Galpin tackles misconceptions around fat loss, emphasizing that while losing weight is conceptually simple, caloric deficit, human behavior, and adherence present the real challenges. Misguided magic bullet thinking around specific diets or exercise regimens often undermines sustainable progress. He distinguishes cook versus baker personality types in dietary adherence, those who prefer flexible guidelines based on concepts versus those who need structured, precise tracking of calories and foods. Starting with meticulous tracking can educate and calibrate portions, enabling more intuitive management later. Exercise contributes to fat loss, especially in maintaining lean mass and metabolic health, but nutrition plays a primary role in creating an energy deficit. Adaptive thermogenesis may blunt the calorie-burning effects of exercise, especially in lean individuals, meaning exercise alone may not guarantee fat loss, but supports sustainable weight maintenance. Galpin introduces his Phi-4-3-2-1 method, advocating for 5 days of general activity, 4 days of structured exercise with at least 3 high-intensity sweat sessions weekly, and strength training twice per week with at least 1 high heart rate session for optimized fat loss and fitness. The podcast explores the psychological underpinnings of behavior change, catalyst moments, acute health scares, major life transitions like parenthood or retiring, significant personal losses, or quantitative biometric feedback often drive people to take action. Yet knowledge alone rarely changes behavior. Emotional relevance and proximity of impact are critical. Galpin stresses the importance of realistic and flexible goal setting to avoid catastrophic failures that deter progress. Goals need to be process-oriented and recognize partial successes rather than all-or-nothing benchmarks. For example, improvements in energy or pain reduction should count as wins during a fat loss journey. Despite the availability of AI-generated workout programs and vast amounts of information, Galpin affirms that human coaching remains invaluable for accountability, motivation, and adaptation. Personal trainers and scientists offer more than knowledge. They provide connection, hold clients accountable, and help interpret complex data into meaningful actions. When asked what would still be worth doing, even if guaranteed to fail, Galpin's answer reflects a love of process and experience above outcomes. Being around his children, competing, learning, and engaging fully in life embodies the intrinsic motivation that fuels lasting health and performance improvements.